Hello, good evening. It's 9 p.m. You're watching on Live RTD channel. Welcome to this English news edition. Coming up, the headlines. The President of the Republic received a delegation of the President of the Assembly and French-speaking Parliament. And on the international scenes, NATO rejects air exclusion zone over Ukraine. Those were the top stories. Thanks for joining us in our newsroom. The head of state, His Excellency Ismail Margili, received late Thursday morning at the Palace of the Republic a high-level delegation of the Assembly of the President and French-speaking African Parliament, which holds this day from 16 to 17 March 2022 its main conference in Djibouti, the Conference of the African Sanctions of the APF, has value of a summit meeting where the speakers of the Parliament of French-speaking Africa evaluate the scope of the action endorsed by their assembly in the lapses of 1 year and also elaborate under the sign of new strategies for greater realization of the objective and values of Francophonie in the Black Continent. The audience between President Guelleh and the delegation of Speaker of the Parliament and French-speaking Africa serve as a framework for the elaboration of the main working themes defined for this assembly: political stability, peace and security, peaceful coexistence of people, development and economic integration, and the fight against the phenomena of global warming are among other topics, the main concern of the Assembly of Speakers of French-speaking Parliament in Africa. At the end of this meeting, the head of delegation will say the President of the Assembly Francophone Parliament of Africa, who is none other than the President of the National Assembly of Gabon. In his speech, the intervention of Mr. Boukube Faustin welcomed the quality of the advice received by his delegation for a greater achievement of the objective defined for the Francophone African parliaments. The judicious nature of the advice provided by the President Guelleh, he said to our delegation, is commensurate with the political leadership of economic success and peace that he has consistently advocated for his country as an island of stability, as well as in the rest of the region, he concluded. In turn, the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohamed Ali Hamad, said that the Conference of the Speaker of the Parliament of the African region and Francophonie Parliamentary Assembly, which was held in Djibouti on the 16 and 17 March, enabled us to talk with each other to lay the foundation for cooperation between the French-speaking African countries to strengthen the countries of Africa French-speaking in all files. We are therefore pleased that our counterparts of Gabon are very happy to have them with us in Djibouti. The organization of the conference in Djibouti allow our continent to highlight its rules in the continent, and I am very happy and very satisfied to organize this conference in Djibouti, he concluded. For the second day in a row, the work of the 13th Conference of the Speaker of Parliament in the African region of the Francophonie Parliamentary Assembly continues for a second day in a row at the headquarters of the Assembly, the National Assembly. During the 2 days of participants will address a number of topics related mainly to regional integration in Africa and parliamentary system in Africa, the new challenges, as well as overview of a report on the digital program of the Parliamentary Assembly, but also the Francophonie, the repercussion of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the aggressive ways to promote and confront the negative economic effect of the conflict between Russians and Ukraine. The main objective within the framework of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Francophone and the African Regional Assembly is to strengthen the power of parliaments in political life, to defend the interests and aspirations of the African people, to consolidate their solidarity, to deepen their democratic culture, and stabilize the rules of law and respect of human rights. The African Regional Assembly constitutes a basic opening new promising horizons for development, prosperity, peace, and solidarity, adding that there is a will to build a francophone that is efficient on the economic level and capable of the region. As part of the National Women's Week, the General Peltier Hospital hosted an event dedicated to distributing health supplies to women and girls suffering from mental illness. The ceremony of distributing these supplies was sponsored by the Minister of Women and Family, Ms. Muna Usman Aden, and the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdillah, in the presence of the Vice President of the National Assembly and also the director of the hospital. It is worth noting that the Ministry of Women and Family celebrated last Tuesday the International Women's Day under the patronage of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margili, who praised the role of Djiboutian women in advancing the process of the economic and social development and preserving the national value of gain of all women in Djibouti. The Vice President of the National Assembly, Ms. Hasna Ahmed Belil, the Vice President, of the UNFD, Ms. Hasna Ahmed Belil, gave a speech in which she expressed her pleasure to participate in these humanitarian gestures, which falls within the framework of the National Week of Djiboutian Women, explaining that the Ministry of Women and the Family and the National Union of Djiboutian Women, through the initiative, want to share times with the women suffering from mental illness in hospital. For this, Ms. Hasna Ahmed Bilal extended thanks and gratitude to the staff of the General Hospital Peltier. In turn, the Minister of Women and Family, Ms. Muna Usman Aden, addressed and expressed in a short intervention her thanks and appreciation to the Minister of Health and the Ministry's personnel for the warm reception and good preparation for this occasion of giving supplies to the illness of women in this hospital. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdillah, praised in a speech the effort of the Ministry of Women and Family in providing support to the patients with mental illness. He said that this humanitarian gesture, which falls within the framework of the National Week of Djiboutian Women, explaining that the Ministry of Women and Families and my ministries are working together to provide and always be by the side of women, even the illness of women in Djibouti, in all files. He concluded. As part of a working visit led him to the state of Qatar, the Minister of Islamic Affairs and Endowment, Mr. Momin Hassan Barre, met yesterday Sunday in Qatari capital Doha with his Qatari counterpart, Mr. Ghanim bin Shahin Al Ghanim. During the meeting, they reviewed the relation of a cooperation between the two sides and exchange experience with regard to the Islamic affairs. The Chief of the General Staff of the Army Forces of Djibouti, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, received this morning in his office the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Djibouti, Mr. Faisal bin Sultan. The meeting discussed bilateral relations between the two borderly countries, especially in the military files and ways to promote border and more welcoming horizons. The meeting constituted an opportunity to shed light on the existing strategy partnership of the two brotherly countries and people. For his part, the ambassador noted that there is historical depth of Saudi-Djiboutian relation and their continuous growth in various files, stressing the keenness to push the relation of a cooperation between Djibouti and Riyadh toward broader horizons. It was on Tuesday, March 15, 2022, the Minister Aden Mohamed Dileita present to Mr. Charles Michel, President of the European Council, his letter of credence according him as head of a mission of the Republic of Djibouti to the European Union. From the outset, the ambassador transmitted to the President of the Council the warm greeting of President of the Republic and congratulate him on the success and faithful coordination during the last summit of head of state and government held on 17 in February on bilateral level. And ambassador thanked the president for the support and the AU in various projects that well-being of the Djiboutian population in other the project of also the units and the city of Djibouti, the sanitation file. The Ministry of Commerce and Tourism, the Ministry of Trade, and Tourism continues its price control operation throughout the national territory to ensure and enforce the prices set by the ministry. The main objective of this operation is to ensure, on the one hand, the availability of the food stuff of first necessity, and on the other hand, the respect of price approved by the Ministry of Trade and Tourism. This Wednesday, March 16, the inspections took place in a level of the neighborhood of Arhiba and the Saudi city. The controllers noted increase of the little note justified at the level of the certain level. A news release from the Ministry of Trade and Tourism, which has, in accordance with the law number 28, the 6th on competition, fraud, repressions, and consumers protection, the Ministry of Trade and Tourism urged the economic operators to comply with the obligation to deliver in the voice to any commercial transaction. To this end, the merchants is required to deliver the invoice upon the completion of the sale or service, and buyer must claim it. The invoice must be drawn up in a last 2 copies. The seller must give the original invoice to the buyer and keep the duplicates. Any professional who sells or resell product, good, or offer service without issuing an invoice is liable to a fine of 5,000 franc Djibouti to 5 million and to the imprisonment for the days for 10 days to 6 months or to 1 or 2 only penalties only. In the framework of the fight against smuggling during the day of 15 March, in Dakhil region, elements of the Riyadh Army of Dakhil, in collaboration with the various army forces, security bodies, and the custom brigade, intercept a large quantity of cattle good in the area of Bondera, locality of Dakhil region. A lot of cat goods consisting of 17 cats collies were seized and caught fire, and also the Colonel Ibrahim Yusuf Dabar, chief of the army forces, chief of the corps of Dakhil, wishes to congratulate the military, the police, and gendarmes, as well as the customs for the collaboration of this operation of seizure. It was said that together we'll fight against smuggling in order to avoid a fall of our national economic in this time and crisis of COVID-19 international conflict upsetting the order of the world. And now moving on to the international scenes, at least 4 killed, other 7.4 magnitude were East Japan. Dozens report endure after quake of the cast of revive. But also the tsunami. At least 4 people have been killed and 94 injured after the powerful earthquake hit the northeastern Japan, shaking buildings some of 275 kilometers away in Tokyo and leaving hundreds of thousands without power, including in the capital. The 7.4 magnitude scored earthquake struck off the cast and the tsunami in the region at the depth of 60 kilometers just before midnight. This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful evening.